Hello, Greatland Portland communities. Thank you so much for inviting me to your annual convening. And I'm disappointed that I couldn't make it there with you in person after all. Working with your console staff, planning the event was a great experience. And Tom and I thought it would be nice if I could record the chat in my absence anyhow. So that's what we'll do today. My name is Brianna Sunryd, and I'm the Public Innovation Design Studio Lead at the Collins Center for Public Management at UMass Boston, where we work with cities and towns of all sizes on a range of public management projects and solutions. Long before I stepped into that role, however, I spent years exactly where you're all sitting. I managed the 311 Resident Service Center and handled public outreach for the city of Worcester, Massachusetts. And I recently, before joining the center, served as the director of communications and civic innovation, as well as the community participation officer for the town of Amherst, Massachusetts. So I know the day-to-day realities of local government. I know the tight budgets and the lean staffing and the incredible work your teams put in every day. So today we're going to talk a little bit about how we can use public communications not just as an administrative box to check, but as a core tool to improve the civic experience of your residents. And in doing so, protect and build deeper public trust. So here's our game plan for the next 15 minutes or so. First, we're going to take a look at the civic experience, what that actually means from a resident's perspective. Then we'll look at a little bit of data regarding public trust and dive into the rapidly changing challenge and landscape of local media. Finally, we'll spend the bulk of our time on discussing practical, real-world tips and some ideas you can take back to your offices to help remove some of the friction with those public interactions without needing $1 million budget. So let's start with the basics. What is the civic experience? Put simply, it is every single touch point or interaction between your local government and the community members you serve. It's a small business owner trying to get a permit. It's a parent trying to enroll their child in a summer recreation program. It's a resident checking your website to see if a public meeting was rescheduled or trying to pay a tax bill online. Like any customer experience, these moments vary on a scale from deeply positive to incredibly frustrating. In the private sector, companies spend billions removing this friction. You can buy a product with one click or call a car with one swipe. Our residents are conditioned to expect that now. When they encounter high institutional friction, like a broken link, confusing form, or a phone call that never gets returned, it chips away at public confidence. But when we make an interaction frictionless and easy, we are depositing equity straight into that bank of public trust. So, public trust, what is it and why does it matter? Again, public trust is our citizens' shared confidence that our government institutions and officials will act honestly, fairly, and in the public's best interests rather than their own. It sounds like a lofty philosophical concept, but it's actually highly practical. Public trust is the fuel that ensures our local policies, programs, and initiatives are successful. If the community doesn't trust us, every single override vote, zoning change, or new program becomes an uphill battle. Trust is what gives us the license to operate effectively. Now, the good news is that we have a massive head start here in local government. If you take a look at this data on the screen here, which comes from Deloitte and Pew, the public's trust in the federal government is fairly negative. But look at the top bar on this chart. Local government holds a positive composite trust score. And why is that? Because distant governments tend to be distrusted governments. You all are on the front lines. You deliver the actual services that people see, feel, and touch every single day. You are the most trusted level of government. But because we are the closest to our public, our friction points are also the most visible at times. We have a responsibility to maintain this trust premium. And right now, that is getting harder because the traditional ways we've always relied on to connect with our residents are starting to break down. Pew Research found the exact same disconnect. 61% of US adults have a favorable view of their local government as of 2023, which is down a few, percentage points from 2019, compared to just 22% for the federal government. And that's a massive 39 percentage point difference. We have the public's favorability right now, but we can't afford to take it for granted because the way our residents get information about what we do is undergoing a structural shift. And that favorability is driven strongly by service delivery. A positive service experience can be a direct predictor of trust levels. This is where public communication and technology collide. Digital services and active engagement make distant services feel near, creating a direct positive impact on that trust, if that interaction is frictionless, of course. Today, digital channels have increasingly become the first and sometimes the only point of interaction for many of our residents. If their digital experience with you is a mess, their perception of your entire government might match that. This brings us to one of the core challenges of communicating with our public, the rapid decline of local news and media in general. For generations, we relied on local beat reporters to sit in the back of our meetings and tell our town's story. But over the last 20 years, nearly 3,500 newspapers have just disappeared. That's a staggering 40% loss, leaving only a fraction of local papers by late 2025. We now have over 200 counties that are complete news deserts with no local news source at all, and over 1,500 counties relying on just one weekly paper, if that. When a local newspaper dies, it creates an information vacuum. And we all know what fills a vacuum in 2026. Rumors, speculation, and polarization on localized social media groups, for example. If residents can't find out what happened at last night's meeting from a trusted reporter, we can no longer afford to be passive. If we don't tell our own story, who will? Okay, so local news is declining. This cartoon tells the whole story. When we lose local news, we lose a piece of our community spirit and our public conscience. But it also underscores our new reality. We have to step into the gap. We have to become the definitive, trusted source of truth for our communities. So look at where people are going right now to find out what's happening in local politics. Friends and family are number one at 70%. Local news outlets are still hanging on at 66%. But look at social media at 54% and local government websites at 32%. When you look at the growth trends, it becomes even clearer. Online forums and Facebook groups have jumped to 52%. But look at that third line. 40% of residents are now going directly to local government agencies for information, which is up significantly from 30% just a few years ago. Our communities are explicitly looking to us to fill the media void. They are turning directly to our digital front doors, expecting accurate, timely, and easy to understand answers. And here's the payoff. Americans who feel attached to their community are vastly more interested in local laws, policies, and elections. Over 90% of highly attached residents care deeply about local laws. What does this tell us? A connected community is an informed community, and an informed community holds more trust in their local government. When we use public communications effectively, we aren't just pushing out data, we are building community attachment, which directly drives civic health. So how do we handle this responsibility when we are already stretched so thin? We can use this simple playbook. We assess our needs, we map our assets, we adopt a civic hack mindset, we create a measurement plan, we clean up our digital front door, and we look at creative ways for paying for it all. Let's break down exactly what this looks like in reality. So step one is to assess needs. We have to be intentional. Who is your audience? How does your community map out? What are their preferences? How do they want to receive information and interact with your services? This requires a human-centered approach, listening to feedback, even when it's really hard to hear, going back and reviewing previous complaints and kudos to find out where the recurring friction points are and where we're doing well. Polling your staff and community members. And critically, always check for special needs like language translations or digital accessibility considerations. Step two is mapping your existing assets. Before you look outward for expensive or complicated new solutions, look inward first. Take stock and inventory of your existing tools, your staff's hidden talents, your resources and your workflows. Work directly with your technology and IT staff to express what the organization needs. Brainstorm how the software and tools you already own might be able to fit the bill if you think creatively. When you come up completely short, you can certainly start exploring purpose-built external tools that can help you move the needle. This brings us to step three, that civic hack mindset I mentioned earlier. This doesn't mean doing something poorly. It means looking at your asset map and repurposing your existing tools to solve a communication or customer service problem. Let me show you the difference this mindset makes through a simple contrast. Imagine a resident who wants to know how their tax dollars are being spent. In a traditional, perhaps high friction environment, they have to go to the town website and download a 300-page line item budget PDF full of municipal accounting codes. And sometimes that's a scanned document that they can't even search items for in their PDF viewer. It's frustrating and they give up. And they sometimes assume the town is maybe hiding something or not being forthcoming. Friction creates a critic. Now look at these real municipal examples of a civic hack. Take GIS mapping, for example. Creative towns are taking that exact same budget data and overlaying it onto GIS mapping tools they already own and use for public works or planning projects. A resident clicks on their street and a window pops up saying, your tax dollars paved this road, upgraded this park, or bought this new fire engine. Same data, but less friction. Take emergency alerts, for example, repurposing your mass notification systems to create additional channels to share routine, critical community information rather than just waiting for that blizzard to share out snow alerts. Issue reporting is another great one, turning solutions like See-Click-Fix or other 311 type platforms into two-way engagement opportunities for neighborhood cleanups, for example. Virtual polling, leveraging built-in features during your already hybrid public meetings to capture real-time sentiment from the audience who are already watching. Step four is measurement. Building public trust is necessary, but measuring it ensures we stay on track. To know the impact of your efforts, you need to develop benchmarks. Determine which measurements actually matter to your organization's goals. Focus on things that can be collected with relative ease without requiring proprietary skills or expensive platforms. Digital services offer a massive wealth of data points that we often do nothing with. Dust off that asset map and see what analytics you already have access to and use that data to tell your story to the public and your elected officials. So what can a local government readily measure right now? Website traffic and specifically internal search information. What are people typing into your search bar? That tells you what needs to be on your homepage or you need to put a press release out about. Online views of your public meetings or email newsletter open rates. Interactions and sentiment on social media, and other complaints, permitting data, and subscriber counts to your services over time. This data gives you an honest, clear picture of your services, how they're working, if they're reaching the audience you intend, and the impact of your communication efforts. This slide's just a quick example of what it looks like when you pull those metrics together. This is an dashboard from back in my days in Amherst, tracking everything from website visits to emergency alert subscribers and social media follows. And you can notice the small pie chart in the center, traffic by device type. At this point in time shows a high percentage of desktop users versus mobile users. Having hard data like this takes the guessing game out of your strategy. It tells you exactly how your community prefers to interact with you, so you can design your forms and pages to match their actual habits. Step 5 is to clean up your digital front door with a web-first approach. Your website is your baseline. It is the central hub of information for your local government. It is where residents expect to find major road construction updates, broad impact bylaw changes, or election details. Having a website with fresh, timely information translates directly into trust. Think about it. Outdated content leads to frustrated phone calls and emails, which in the long run takes up more staff time than it would have taken to post the updated information in the first place. Furthermore, with the rapid rise of AI tools and search functions used by residents to find information, your website content must be accurate and timely, because AI scrapers will feed your resident whatever data they find on your pages. Make sure their first digital interaction is a positive one. So finally, step 6, how do we pay for all of this? Increasing the capacity of our communication functions will require resources over the long term, but we have to think creatively right now. Look for state and federal grant resources and funding. Explore regional cost or staff sharing with neighboring communities. Look into partnerships with the private sector, local colleges, or community interest groups. Don't hesitate to ask vendors about piloting or beta testing a tool you're interested in. And always audit what freeware or open source tools can solve your problems safely as well. Here are some great structural examples of how municipalities are doing this right now without massive budgets. Resident communications committees. Several towns that I've worked with are actively tapping into local PR or marketing professionals who live in town and want to volunteer their expertise and experience to guide communication strategies. Shared regional resources, partnering with neighboring communities to split the cost of a shared public information officer through your regional planning agency or council of government. In one small community out in Western Mass, we have a split position with the Chamber of Commerce having half-time of the communications staff and the town owning half of that. And it's the same position. So they're able to bolster both of those local organizations and improve their communications. Targeted help. This is obviously something that my practice does quite a lot at the Collins Center and various other folks and organizations. So utilizing either part-time staff or term limited project level consultants just to get a specific overhaul completed or a specific override project or other major initiative that you need support communicating with. Capacity isn't just about hiring full-time staff. It's about expanding your ecosystem in a way that works for you. Okay, so I know we've only skimmed the surface of an incredibly important topic today. I could keep talking and talking about this, but we were only given, a finite amount of time. And so to wrap up, I want to leave you with 3 simple commitments. First, understand what your community really needs. Take a human-centered approach, listen to the hard feedback, audit your current complaints, and design your communications for your actual audience in the way they prefer to consume information. Second, be creative with existing resources and strategic with new ones. Think like a Civic hacker. Remap the tools you already own before you spend money on something new. And look to potentially regional sharing to expand your capacity. Grow trust through frictionless experiences. Lastly, remember that every single smooth, easy, and transparent interaction deposits equity into the bank of public trust. A frictionless civic experience is the foundation of community trust. So our local newsrooms may be changing, but the need for clear, trusted community connection has never been stronger. As local government professionals yourselves, you are the face of a functioning community. I want to thank you all so much for your time today, and thank you for the vital work you do for our municipalities every single day. I would have normally paused now and asked for folks to share questions or their own examples at this point, but we'll have to do that next time. Thanks again for your time, and do not hesitate to reach out if you want to get connected on this topic or others. Have a great day.